Tip number 1 is compassion is the only place to start. It's compassion. Being able to forgive yourself requires self-compassion first and foremost. And everyone, and I mean everyone in the world, including the Dalai Lama, including Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., including Mahatma Gandhi, has made mistakes. Because if you're human, you've made a mistake. You've made mistakes. The key is to learn from the errors, to learn from the mistakes, and move forward. When we hold on to past decisions we don't like, we're holding on to the idea of staying stuck in the past instead of opening up our future. You cannot, no matter how much you fret, kick yourself, or worry, unring that bell. You can't unring the bell. It's done. The toothpaste is out of the tube, never to be put back. There is only coming to terms with what is and what was, taking responsibility, I'm all for it, and then figuring out how to not make the same mistake or mistakes again. That's it. That's the only choice you really have to, again, to me, to be a good person in the world. It's not being a good person in the world to beat yourself up forever. You're not really connecting anymore to the thing you've done. You're just, I'm a victim. I did it. It's all over. It's done. Do you hear yourself? That's why everyone gets frustrated with you and sick of hearing it, because you're sick of hearing it. You're sick of saying it, but it's because you're stuck in an unhelpful cycle. And you're not really, what's the point? Stop complaining. You're not moving on. You're not doing anything about it. So what are you doing? You did the best. I've said it 100 times, but I'll say it again. You did the best with the tools you had at that time. When you made a decision to smoke when you were pregnant, at that time, those are the best tools you had. You might have known smoking was bad for pregnancy and done it anyway, but you still only had certain tools at the time to help you stop. Knowing something isn't a tool. That's not having certain sort of characteristics, inside that can help you move. I knew it was bad to do heroin. I knew that was an unhealthy choice. I did not have the tools to stop myself from doing it, though. With who you were at that time, with everything at your disposal, that was the choice you made. You have different tools now, and so you can make different choices now. So really, what you're forgiving, you have to forgive the person you were at that time. I have to forgive my 19, 20-year-old, 12-year-old, 15-year-old self. I have to forgive her. You have to forgive who that person was. And it could have been a year ago, and it could have been yesterday. And I often quote the 12 steps, of Alcoholics Anonymous, AA, or Narcotics Anonymous. And I often use tools I learned there. And there is, this serenity prayer that's bastardized a little bit from the original, that's repeated at every single meeting. And I think it's repeated because it should be. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And as annoying as I have found that prayer at different times in my life, the words are so helpful if you focus on them. You're asking God, the universe, I don't care what you believe in, or ask yourself, I don't care, to give you some peace so that I can accept what I can and can't change, while summoning the courage to make the changes that I can take and to take action now where I can. And then you're asking for the wisdom or the knowledge to understand the difference of things you can change and things you can't. So whether you're in the 12 steps or not, this can be a great mantra to say to yourself. This is a great tool when you're feeling stuck in the past. By being forgiving of yourself, you can then accept yourself and be more responsible for your life choices. When you're stuck in this other victim place, you're not taking responsibility for your choices. You're not. You're blaming yourself, but you're not taking responsibility. Do you hear that? So in the end, you've got to work on your self-compassion. I've done many episodes about self-love, self-compassion, or you can pick up any book by the Queen of Self-Compassion, Kristen Neff, who's the first person to operationalize the term self-compassion so that we could study it. That's why we love her, because it's research-based. But You've got to make working on your self-compassion a priority. My latest book is called Boundaries Made Easy. If you're watching me on YouTube, I'm sort of pointing behind me to it. I go deep on self-love, self-esteem, self-compassion, the differences between those. I go deep on all the tools. So, and boundaries are a great place to start practicing forgiveness of yourself and self-love and self-compassion. Tip number 2, develop realistic expectations. This one makes me nuts, people. If you're having difficulty forgiving yourself for something or for just being who you are, it's time to evaluate your expectations. What are your expectations? What are the expectations you have set for yourself? Are you supposed to be perfect and only make correct choices every single time, or have only ever made correct choices? Is that the bar you're at? Because that's impossible. That is an impossible goal and wholly unrealistic. It's crazy. Or maybe you're trying to live up to the unrealistic expectations others have set for you, or that you see on social media and their curated little lives. Are you so busy comparing your life to your sisters or to someone you follow on Instagram? Are you listening to your dad's voice in your head telling you that you should be able to work full time and also still only give your children, homemade organic foods and not allow them any screen time? You freaking kidding me? I don't know anyone who does all this. And if there are people out there, I'm telling you, that can do all that, they're giving it up somewhere else. Maybe their marriage isn't as good as you think. Maybe they're not happy. Maybe they're not taking care of their physical health or their mental health or their spiritual health. I'm telling you, there's only so much any human can do. So if it looks really perfect on the outside, you can bet your bippy that it's not perfect everywhere. I don't have a perfect life. No one does. That's such crap. So stop and, stop with the comparing. Stop with the, if that voice in your head is that you're never enough or that you can never measure up, that's not a reasonable voice. And again, the expectations here are way too high. When you have healthy expectations, when they're healthy, here's how you know. They're achievable consistently, but more important, you feel fulfilled and satisfied when you reach them. It feels good. If you're always feeling drained, anxious, never enough, you've got yourself some unrealistic expectations that need to shift. I promise. I would highly recommend listening to a loving kindness meditation at least once a week as you learn to lower your expectations to something reasonable and be kind to yourself in the process. I have a free loving kindness meditation on YouTube, but there's a ton of free stuff also out there with loving kindness meditations. Start listening to one once a week, maybe twice a week. That'll also obviously help with your self-compassion from tip 1. But either way, it's a win. Tip number 3, get perspective. And all of these, as you can see, are slightly linked, but they're all a little bit different. Getting perspective on your mistake is big. And again, I'm calling it a mistake, but to me, that's even a judgmental term for it. It's really getting perspective on a choice you've made in the past that you don't like. Okay. If this is something, by the way, that happened 10 years ago, you're not upset about something now, but something old. So the hurt is past. So if you're treating it like it's happening now, that's a problem. Ask yourself some constructive questions. So here's what you want to do. Here's my tips for this tip. Did you learn anything good about yourself from your perceived mistake, from this thing you did? Or did you learn anything about yourself, good or not? What else is true? And put that in a positive frame about your perceived mistake from the past. Like, what else could be true? This is all part of rational emotive therapy. RET, or rational emotive therapy, was created by Albert Ellis and one of the greats of the psychology field. And it's called the ABC format, where you're really taking something and you're seeing the situation, and then you write down your beliefs about it. Then you write down your feelings when you have those beliefs. And then basically what you do is you dispute the beliefs. What else could be true? Well, it's also true that when I was pregnant and smoking, I was overwhelmed in my life. I was with someone, there was no dad in the picture, or I was in a very unhappy relationship, or I didn't want to get pregnant. And, maybe I was trying to sabotage in some way, or I felt out of control in my life at that time. And this was the one way I felt control. And yeah, I feel sorry for that woman now who only felt like this was her only way to have control. I stayed in denial around it. And then when you have new beliefs, you look at your feelings, you check in with your feelings again, and you realize, oh, I have some compassion for that woman. I have some compassion for that person who did that, who dropped out of high school because they were overwhelmed, or who took a degree my parents told me to get that I never used. You find what else could be true about who you were at that time. What else, is there? And you start to have different thoughts about it, and you feel the way you think. So then you start to have different feelings about it. Cognitive reframing, which is kind of what this RET, or not kind of, RET is a form of cognitive reframing, just sort of broken down. And cognitive reframing to me is the best and easiest way to get perspective. And I cover that in an episode I did called How to Stop Overthinking and Let Things Go That Bother You. And I cover that 5-step process for cognitive reframing in that episode. Tip number 4 is to stop the replay. It is time to stop replaying and re-stimulating whatever the event was, the issue, the past choice you don't like. If you find yourself during your day remembering anything about the, again, mistake or whatever you can't forgive yourself for, I want you to practice breathing or meditation when the thoughts come up, because you got to calm your nervous system. You have to disengage those fight, flight, freeze reactions. You really got to stop. We know from the research that the more you replay a negative event or conversation in your head, the more negative you're going to feel. And that feeling gets entrenched in your neurocircuitry. And also, by the way, you start to twist what happened or what was said to make it closer to how you're feeling, and you lose perspective. We know this. There is so much research about this. This is not something up for debate. So you think you know the truth, and you don't. You're skewing the truth every time you play it in your head because of all the brain neurocircuitry that's going on. You are proving yourself right, and you're not correct. You need to ask yourself one question when you are tripping on something, when you just can't, when you're doing that. Is this helpful? I think people are always proving themselves correct and true. Oh, it's true. I was a terrible person when I did that. It's true. I smoked when I was pregnant. Yeah. Is it helpful though? Is it helpful? You can think all day how you should have finished your degree when you were 18 and you or 20 or whatever, or you should have gotten a divorce earlier, or you should have gotten married earlier, or you should have had babies later or earlier, whatever. You can't. Is it helpful? It's mental masturbation is all it is. Is thinking about this over and over and replaying it like a movie in your head helping you? No. Are you feeling happier? Are you feeling lighter? No. Are you feeling energized and motivated to make changes in your life? No. It doesn't help to do the replay. You're just focusing on being right, not happy. What do I always say? Do you want to be correct or effective? So you can be right all day in your head, which by the way, you're not really. But you're not being effective. You're not shifting your life. You're not, again, really forgiving the past so that you can stop being a victim. There's nothing here for you. Tip number 5, my last tip, is to build yourself up so you can make the past smaller. You can't just forget. We know that. But you can build yourself up to a place where whatever this thing or things have been is a small part of you and your experience. And then it doesn't carry as much weight. I always compare it. It's like, if you put a drop of food coloring into a mug of water, it's going to color all the water, right? But if you put a drop of food coloring in a swimming pool, you're not even going to see it or notice it. You need to expand and be the swimming pool. What can you focus on each day to expand your life and become the person you want to be? You could start traveling. Start being a travel person. Take a class in something fun, not something to improve your career. Or you can do that, I guess. But cooking, basket weaving, whatever your jam, whatever floats your boat, take a class. Gary just took a blacksmith class, I've done beading classes. I've made jewelry. I've done, just take something new. Schedule to meet with a friend once a week take a walk. You don't have to hike. You don't have to do anything huge. Take a walk. Start walking your dog without bringing your cell phone and just be in those moments. Start attending some kind of spiritual group. It could be temple, mosque, church, or your local Buddhist Zen center, or anything else. Praying to the goddesses. I don't care. Anything that feels spiritual, that feels out of your head, that feels, or maybe you're going to learn a little something, go for it. Start a morning practice where you begin each day on a healthy note so you can build positive momentum all day long. I did a whole episode called Abby's Step-by-Step Guide to Starting Your Day Right. It's literally nitty-gritty how to start your day to have positive momentum to help carry that through the day. Practice mindfulness throughout your day. If you don't have my free mindfulness starter kit yet, what are you waiting for? Schedule a once-a-week lunch date with a good friend. Start a meditation practice. Again, because I love you so much, I have a free meditation starter kit you can download. Read a great forgiveness book. Read 10 minutes a day in a great forgiveness book. I did an interview with I do so few interviews on the podcast, but I did one with Dr. Robert Enright, a few years ago now. He is I think Time magazine called him the forgiveness trailblazer or something. He spearheaded the field of forgiveness research back in the day. Have a listen to that. Maybe buy his book, Forgiveness is a Choice. He's gotten many other books too, but there's a lot of things you could do to start to make yourself better, make yourself expand, so that if you're so tiny and you only have a few things occupying your brain, then that's going to be that drop of food coloring in a mug of water. But as things expand, as you allow your life, as you open up, get a pet, I don't know, as you do things that enrich your life and really enrich you, guess what? That's how that starts to change. And it's really one of the best tips I can give you overall is to expand into yourself, expand into the world, be bigger, be more, take up more room. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to be. And there's this quote, I think it's by Lewis Smedes, and he says, to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that the prisoner was you. I know.